one of the core reasons why I had been thinking, and I gave my number one most probable scenario that Bitcoin would bust through here, even before there was a daily closure below. So even before this daily closure, my first most probable is that it would bust through this zone. And the major reason for that was the master origin line and the weekly 10. So just a quick recap. I might want to get rid of these lines. And I'll hide that one. The weekly 10 and the monthly 10 had both gone below the master origin line. And the gist of it is, after the red line or the weekly 10 goes below, let me take off price. After it goes below the master origin line, historically, at that time, the next turn up in price, it has to stick its landing on the origin line and then continue to rally. And because that didn't happen, so if I zoom into this area, red, so this is the master origin line, this white line here, and all this blue stuff is the channel around it. And I think then and because this is by far the most important line, straight line in all of Bitcoin price history, that is why I put my number one option as it breaks through that support at roughly 31K, because this is the most important line in all of Bitcoin price. It's more important than that 30K line. This is way more important. That's why this was my number one option, and that ended up prevailing, right? A lot of times, though, when I make an analysis, sometimes I guess top three, and the third one is the one that plays out. And very few times, if I guess, three, then something else plays out. That sometimes happens, especially if it's a flash crash. I'm not going to always put flash crashes. Back in April, we had some flash crashes there, and one in February or something of 2021. So sometimes outside of flash crashes, sometimes I guess my top three are not the right guesses. It's not too common, but a lot of times the third one does play out. But however, I'm very confident that we only need the top two as of now. And so this is the main reason why. Let me put myself, this is top right. Yeah, okay, I'm way up here on the top right. If I zoom into this area now that we're kind of staring at this, I will put price back on, and it was essentially it was supposed to stay above. It needed to stay above here after red. So this red line crossed the white line. It needed to stay above here. It did not. And I thought, well, maybe this is a fake out. Like, this could be a whale game, because it came down and situated itself perfectly, obviously, on my blue line. That is the bottom of the trading channel around here. So the other three times that Bitcoin had flirted with this line, it created a channel. So it just perfectly ping-ponged like a pinball machine around these lines. So it did it again, and I thought, okay, that could be a fake out, could be a whale game, a bear trap. So the next rush up, Bitcoin has to both get above the red line and this origin line. And when it got rejected on this candle right here, and you'll see me going more in depth on that Monday video if you hadn't watched it, on that candle right, let me zoom in a little bit more. On this candle right here, after it got rejected by that line, I knew it wasn't going to touch that origin line, and I knew that was kind of writing on the wall, particularly because it got a rejection from the weekly 10, and it's like a double bearish engulfing candle. It engulfed that candle and that candle. That's bad. It was toast. All right, that's when I knew that's when I started saying we're likely in a capitulatory event sooner on the May end of my scale, because I'd been thinking for quite a while, since December, before anybody, or it might have been since early January, around the new year. But I've been thinking capitulation is going to happen between May and September. And then at that candle, I said, I think it's going to happen May or June, or even late April to early June. So that was a very compelling candle for me. And that's a recap of how I felt very confident in an analysis, right? That, because there are a lot of people who were thinking that this was going to bounce here. I mean, and honestly, it did really. I mean, that was my second most likely. But so just from a TA perspective, these are all the pieces that I was putting together for the case of it dropping through. Where's my macro range? This guy. For the case that it would break through that macro line that had a lot of support. It should have been a very strong line, but price just went through it, even on the daily scale. On the 5-minute scale, you had some bouncing around, but on the daily, it just tanked right through. because that master origin line, it really is by far the most important line in Bitcoin history, plus the weekly 10 going below it, and then it failed to get back above the weekly 10. That is the basis of my analysis there. All right, now, where could this go? I'm going to show you a little bit of a secret here. Let me go back in time. And just a heads up, though, I am within my Discord community. We are essentially making game plans of how to play this bear market, not necessarily just trading short-term timeframes, which I have a lot of people making tons of money off shorts as of now. But even outside of that, just in regard to when you're DCAing strategies or how to research coins to pick, we're all making plans on how to do that. One thing to note, though, I don't know if I should give this away for free. I really should, because this, I know there are so many folks out there already who are kind of screwed anyway. So I think I owe YouTube this idea. But a lot of you aren't going to believe me, just like you didn't believe that this is going to be a bear market. So it's going to be hard to believe what I'm about to say. It's going to be really hard to believe. Should I do it? Yeah, I'll do this. This is really important, but it's going to be hard to believe. As Bitcoin bottoms, that's not the time to buy altcoins. Go back on your charts and look at where Cardano bottomed. It bottomed a year and a half or almost 2 years after Bitcoin bottomed. If you're going to try to make money off of a Bitcoin bottom, you do that by holding Bitcoin and using Bitcoin. And here's the psychological reason why people hit buy and sell, reason why. The faith in altcoins is gone. Anytime altcoins go up a little bit, everybody who's at some 70%, 80% loss, they see, ooh, now I'm only at a 50% loss. They're going to sell. It's going to take a long time for altcoins to recover. They're not going to go up with Bitcoin. And so what does this mean? Bitcoin dominance is going to start screaming. If you want to play the exact bottom, it's not by buying altcoins. You're going to have your altcoins continue. It'll have a bounce there. It's going to have like a 200% bounce. And it is tradable. But if you do that, you'd have to look to be a seller. However, it's not a safe bet because most altcoins don't bounce very hard during these times because the faith in altcoins is gone. People are going to sell into every rally. Like, ooh, I'm only down 75% now. Let's get rid of it. Let me cut my losses. As opposed to seeing yourself down 80%. A lot of people are holding their stuff. A lot of people holding Luna from $80 and stuff. If Luna ever gets, for example, if it ever gets up to $20, $30, people are going to sell hard. There's so many people buying. Like, if Luna survives, for example, not to talk about Luna too much, it's kind of off topic, but it's going to take at least 2.5 to 3 years for that to recover because of that idea, right? So that's the exaggerated version of it. So just think about Luna, everybody who bought it at $50 to $80 and thought they were geniuses, right? Which it was a great project. I don't really blame them. You had no idea that was going to happen. Just like me with Bitcoin, I had no idea it was going to, get delisted. But every time Luna inches up, all those people are going to want to sell. It's going to take years and years and years and years and years for that process to stop. So same with altcoins. Now that people have seen how nasty this can get, because it's kind of unbelievable. So remember when I drew, so for example, look, I think most of you remember when I made my bleed boxes for for Veracity, Trias, and Multivac. You remember that? Do you remember how hard it was to believe that my capitulation boxes were going to be hit? You remember this? I made these boxes when price was on this flash crash right there. No, it might have been this flash crash, actually. I think it was that one. I made this bleed box, and it was, most people didn't believe it was possible to be hit. And again, remember, when I draw boxes, that has a high chance of being hit. Like, I've been doing this for a bit. I am essentially a student of the charts. And for newer folks, it's really hard to imagine it. But I don't know why the brain loves imagining how high things can go. It's just natural. It's not just you. It's me. It was me too. Like, the brain can easily imagine how high shit can go, But for some reason, it's like, does not compute if you try to imagine how low things can go. It's just it's natural. You're not the only one, right? Now that people are seeing that shock, even though people like me have been saying it's going to go 95 to 99% down, I mean, but it's hard to believe. But now that they believe, and that has been a big shocker. This is all the psychological reasons but multiply it by like 1 million. So there's roughly 1 million people, right? This is why this is why Bitcoin dominance is going to go up. Because the faith, like the reality has hit. Oh my gosh, this can go down this far. So every time it tries to inch up, people are going to sell. And it's going to go straight back down. And if Bitcoin makes a bottom, that psychological process is not broken yet. Altcoins will keep bleeding, I'm telling you. And it's going to be a long time. It's going to be 1.5 years or 2. And for Luna, it might be, if it survives, which I personally don't think it will. I don't think you can survive a 99.5% loss in 6 days. I don't think it's possible to survive that. But if it survives, it'll take 2.5 to 3 to 4 years because of that psychological. So am I making sense here? Looping back to the original reason why I started saying this, to connect full circle. If you want to make the best out of, researching and dollar cost averaging and the HODL investor side, not trading to the downside on 5-minute, 30-minute candles. I'm not talking about that. That's independent of this. You can make money anytime. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin goes to 8K and bounces between 8 and 12K. You can make a shit ton of money playing ranges on, for example, on my community with my 3 live trading leaders and my other 3 team leaders leading other crypto fundamental stuff. But in regard to the investment hodling DCA side of things, the way you're going to make money in a bear market is not by buying altcoins when Bitcoin hits a bottom. So I want to be very clear before I show you kind of some thoughts on how Bitcoin bottoms. It's very important. All right, because we already all know that Bitcoin's going down. I mean, at this point, I think reality has hit. And it's not the bottom yet, I'm telling you. And so let me show you a couple things, what to expect out of Bitcoin. Okay. For example, I'm going to go to the 2017 top. It hit roughly 19,860 or something like that. Let's just call it 20K. And it really actually depends on the chart you're looking at. So currently I'm on Bitstamp. Yeah, I typically use my Bitstamp chart. After it became obvious that it was a bear market, so, 20K top, it still felt like a bull market, still maybe some faith, and then after this one, yeah, then people accepted it's a bear market. But a lot of people thought that this was the bottom. There were tons of people saying, this is the bottom, this is the bottom, this is the bottom, right? And then people like me saw the weekly 89 doing this, and then the weekly 10 doing this. And I was able to guess within a 36 to 48 hour, I think I was 48 hours off, that it was going to capitulate. But to where will it capitulate? If you are finally accepting that you're in a bear market, so let's say we're here now, right? And maybe we won't do all these dead cat bounces, something like that, but we're down here. You look left, and you look at structures, little mountains where you have some high and low, high and low, high and low. That's where Bitcoin is going to bottom with like a very high percentage chance. So all you have to do to make a reasonable and intelligent guess, it might not be perfect, but it's going to be close, is make some horizontals. Let me look left and make some horizontals on those types of structures. So I got the top of that little structure, the bottom of that little structure. Did Bitcoin almost want to bottom there? Yeah, that's exactly where this wick came down to. That bounce, that bounce, that bounce, that bounce, and that's where the weekly 89 came up to and started going sideways because that's where price was attracted to that bottom of that structure. This is just how it works, and you can't really argue with it even if you don't like it. So the top of that structure and roughly the bottom, yeah, right about there. So does this line align with anything else? Yeah, the bottom. That's all you do. And you're going to have a solid ass guess. And where did it bounce up to? So after it bottomed and hit this line, so it capitulated, hit that area, and it bounced straight up to the next line. That's all you do. You literally look left and look at structures. So I'm not going to give you my exact levels where I'm thinking, because that's for my Discord community that I just shared yesterday. And I might have actually shared it with the free members, the folks who haven't like all the way signed up yet. So if you want to check out the Discord for free, you can also do the just sign up as a member without doing anything. But you can check out what I posted. But yeah, you can do the same thing. That's where it's going to bottom. All right. So, and you don't have a ton of structures to work with here. You can just look at it and see where are the structures. So there's one here. So is it a surprise that all this came to the bottom of that? No, that's just how it works. That's the way Bitcoin moves, and it's gonna move like that again. All right. So that's a little trick for you. I'm gonna put on Ethereum, and so here's another really crazy moment where let's see, where's my bear guess? I got origin lines. Bear target, yeah. So I have a box for ETH right there. And honestly, now that I'm looking at Ethereum, it almost looks like it doesn't want to hit it in a bear market either. That box might not work. This might be one of the few boxes that doesn't hold up. However, that was my analysis, and I'm going to stick to it because it's not just, I can't change now that, it should be down here if it's going to be on pace. Like, I made the analysis originally, and I'm not going to back out. I'm going to keep my box there out of honor, but it might not be hit. But most of my boxes either are hit or the price of the altcoins go below it, as you saw with a lot of things, even outside of Luna, Mana, Matic, Trias, all that stuff. So like this is where I will give you my bottom target for Ethereum. I think it's going to go under $1,000, and I think it's going to slightly wick under this master origin line here. Or no, this is more of like its master origin line, but this origin line here. I think it's going to make its way over time down to there. It's got a long way to go. And from a percentage standpoint, last bear market, Ethereum went down 94.5%, 94.25, something to that effect. And this would only be down 79%. So this is realistic. That is way less of a bear market than last time. That's less than 80%, that box. So that's part of the reason why I'm sticking with my analysis. Even though from just glancing at it, it looks unbelievable. Like, no way. But if you try to set points of relativity so that you know what you're looking at. So have you seen that? Do you remember? So folks 21 and under, you probably won't remember this, but there was a social media phenomenon that went across essentially the globe. I don't think it was isolated to America, about the dress. What color is the dress? And roughly it was roughly half and half. There were lots of studies, like even like for real, legit psychological studies on it. And it was roughly half the population saw it as blue. The other half saw it as white, or I can't remember, or gray. I don't remember what it was, but half the population saw totally different colors than the other half. And it's all, the way your brain interprets color is off of context around that color. And so it really depended on what the setting was, and so the dress, for some reason, in the picture, the context was essentially at a human threshold of either you see it blue or you see it the other color. It played with the threshold of how the brain connects the context, right? And so the same idea here, that's what drawing this percentage down does. This is the context so you can see it correctly. Am I making sense here? So Ethereum's it's very likely going to go under $1,000. I will give you my target for Ethereum. All right. And what could happen? Let me go back to Bitcoin on the short-term timeframes. I don't want to piss with Ethereum too much. Ooh, this looks like a strong buyback. So we might be actually getting a bounce at this point. All right. Let's do some short-term stuff, then I'll jump on to questions. I will try to spend slightly less or right at half the time me blabbing at you, and